Alright, thank you for watching this one. I'm gonna briefly show the builds I have up to Mythic 3 now that I captured Drezen on this homebrew and tabletop tweak run. Most of the companions I've used are still in original monoclasses with a few exceptions that I'll also show, but you get an idea, hopefully, of how to build these characters as single class characters very efficiently and very effectively for you. I hope this video is informative and helps you out. Feel free to ask any questions and share some ideas in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this one. I'll start with Lann because he was like the simplest here. And after I exited the shield maze, he replaced Wenduag for me as my main tank. He'd be better as an off tank in case your main character has higher AC, but in general his AC was high enough to tank most things except for like special Act 1 bosses. But by that time he had ways to outrun them and gun them down this way with sudden speed. As you see, I pushed crane style and dodge up front immediately for him, and barkskin so he could tank the regular mooks in like marketplace and so on, so I could get XP to eventually get to higher levels. And by the time I was facing the special enemies, it was after tavern defense and he had sudden speed. So that's how I built him. I would say he is more or less good enough to tank unfair as long as he gets support, especially protective luck from either Ember or Camellia. Like that's important for him. Then he's more or less fine. He did go down in that Necromancer fight, but generally the protective luck avoids getting crit, so he survives. Crane style outflanked because he was frontlining a lot at early levels, and in generally it's not a bad feat even for range to proc crits and attack of opportunities. That's actually not a bad feat for ranged characters to take as well. And hammer, just because like Zen archers don't get a lot of damage increases even with bows, so he needs every damage boost he can get. Crit on longbows and improved initiative finally here. And then clustered shots here from the bonus feats. From here on he would continue taking better snapshots up to greater and something like shatter defenses, and that would be his build basically. Yeah, and then we gave him last stand. Never mind Archmage armor, I'm gonna change it. I forget that the pots don't work anymore, but last stand and weapon increase was what he had up to Mythic 3. And at Mythic 3 it'd be probably clustered shots here instead of Archmage, because those don't work on him anyways. So yeah, that was Lann, as you could see. Speaking of Wenduag, this was my Wenduag who tanked for me in the shield maze. You can check that first video out. She had dodge and shield focus, and that's basically all she had. She ran around with a scimitar and shield and was buffed with stuff like mage armor or was wearing heavy plate. And with protective luck from Cam and the buffs, she could safely tank Hostile. I don't think she can completely on unfair safely tank the water elemental as I did, unless you have that other buff from Homebrew Arc. This one ate another AC bonus +2. That +2 did help with the water elemental. If you don't have it, I mean, it wouldn't be as safe unless you have like a main vivisectionist again, or like a main buffer that gives BFT that gives a bit more stats to Dex. It wouldn't be as safe without that as I did. But yeah, like if in case like I load Wenduag here and look at her, that's what she was for me. But as I said, I only use her as pure class fighter with a shield in the shield maze to tank, and for that it's important to get her mobility to rank 3 so she gets the bonus at level 3 for fighting defensively. Now of course, yes, here Camellia, very important support character as early as the shield maze. as I said, I wanted to keep the main cast at least up to Mythic 3. We'll see beyond this as pure as possible, but I do think the Sword Lord dip here is very useful, although it comes a bit late, level 8 or 9, just because then I can fit a better Mythic feat on her. But anyways, Camellia probably should be built this way, pure. Let's say Fortune, Protective Luck, Fortune, and Chant. So by level 4 you have this wombo combo on her. Sometimes I don't go for like Chant here and delay this, but I played this one very safe, so I had this wombo combo on her by level 4 by the time I'm basically after the tutorial, the time I enter Canabra's main, and in the shield mace she has still this and this. And after that, she will focus on skills as well as feats to qualify her for the Sword Lord, so she can use dueling swords with dex to hit and damage, basically. So weapon focus, weapon proficiency, dueling sword, weapon focus, dueling sword, and outflank. Here would be, we would continue with something like power attack and focus strike. And since she also has this, she can take shatter defenses eventually. And other than that, maybe some more utility like Dispel Focus or Focus Conjuration, because I noticed some, do they have it? No, I guess Clerics have it, never mind. So yeah, never mind with Conjuration, just good martial things. Power Attack and Focus Strike is basically essential, and improved initiative. Yeah, and shatter defenses, and that's pretty much her build then. This is why we can fit in an extra mythic ability. Last Stand can be here or here. I took Inspirational Leader first just because it boosts the party, which is very nice. Then Last Stand, Ever Ready, Critical, Second Spirit, Mythic Charge, and so on. I have a Camellia build that is a bit more multi-class than this one, but it would be very similar. On her, the important thing is just getting these hexes by level 4, so she can help the group this way with Protective Luck. And then the qualifications for Sword Lord to get dex to damage, and eventually power attack and focus strike, and be able to hit very hard with this with these dueling swords. And yeah, I give her Bismuth when I was in Drezen, just because she doesn't have that high of an AC, so the pet does help her. Nenio is run quite frequently in your group, just because the spell list they get, I have to fill that one out, is has great buffs for your combatants, like with greater invisibilities, hastes, keen edges, weapon enchants, even defensive buffs, and heroism should you lack it on a different caster. So she's very essential, and she's perfect for groups early to buff them, even if she doesn't really focus on doing too much damage with these or battering blasts. Pure Nenio up to Mythic 3 Drezen is also pretty straightforward. I briefly considered if I want to go Lore Master on her, and probably, like, if this wasn't with tabletop tweaks, which do give tabletop capstones if you stay pure. Like, this is a very nice one for characters +8 to an ability score at level 20. So it makes dipping casters to something very questionable, even to Lore Master, because +8 to, say, Intelligence is another +4 DC and more spells. So keep casters mainly pure with the mod, but otherwise, after level 11, yes, she can go 9 levels in Lore Master, and then I would take like something like skill focus Arcana or skill focus Knowledge World here instead of improved initiative. But before that, before Drezen, it's still like spell penetration bolster, because bolstered magic missiles or scorching rays are pretty good, and then improve her spell penetration and give her greater spell focus illusion. And from here it's either prep for Lore Master with skill focus, knowledge, Arcana, or world, or improved initiative, and we continue with some meta magic feats like empower. And the other thing with her is that she's most efficient if you do go for damage with her with electricity, because eventually she would get the gloves that you get in Act 3 to convert damage to electricity this way. but then greater abundant castings and so on. And she starts with spell focus illusion, and you might as well take the greater version of it. The thing is, illusion is what you get, but if she stays pure, even by the time she gets level 5 spells on some level 4 spells, she can become effective with some very nice illusion spells to CC mobs like Phantasmal Web and Phantasmal Killer. Though I don't really care for Phantasmal Killer because it's single target, but like stuff like Web and Phantasmal Putrefaction start to shine here, starting in the later stages of Act 2 and in Act 3. And then her mythics, yeah, abundant casting and just increase her spell slots, and you can give her already Ascendant here, because like she would go for probably for even more spell casts here with greater abundant castings, and then into meta magics or spell focus mythics. Now Ember I did respec just because I wanted to go into this prestige class that comes with tabletop tweaks and so on. It looked very interesting because it has some nice little benefits, like raising. It's a 3/4 base attack bonus class. By level 3 you get Master of Lies, which improves bluff and deception checks, which I assume could work with feint feats, but we'll see if that actually works. But besides that, you get access to domains like Law and Evil, which boost damage on anyone who has weapons. So you can, like, by level 8 do stuff like Staff of Order and so on to boost weapon damage. So it has some nice like utility. It's not the most powerful prestige class, I would say, but it has enough interesting perks to try it out. And other than that, yeah, she's slightly respect. She's still stigmatized witch. I would say has better hexes than the standard Ember you get. And this makes her a bit more competitive, I would say, to use in your party compared to someone like Nenio, who just pure comes with so many great buffs for your marshals that you almost always want to run Nenio in your group. Because witches, of course, don't have access to haste. But this way she can do other things. And when I play with Ember, I know a lot of people make her into Ray Blaster, but I actually like her with Conjuration, focused on crowd control this way, with Corruptor and Spell Focus Mythic. This stuff comes from tabletop tweaks. I'm going to try it. So far, I didn't like the results because it seems the DC is not quite high enough unless I run like a Court Poet. Custom Court Poet in the group, but it was like a funny little ability. It has great potential for 20% extra damage, but I think you need a Court Poet to make sure even a high charisma character beats DCs here. But otherwise, Corruptor is good, Mythic Focus is good, and if not for Warcry, which comes from the mod, just like Abundant Castings is good. If this was default Ember and without the mod for Rhyme Spell, it would be something like Selective. Either Selective or Heighten spell here, and then Spell Focus Conjuration. I dropped Lann actually in the middle of Drezen siege for Arushalae here, even though she's here pure 11 espionage expert, just because it was simpler to actually get her to have a greater attack and actually greater damage than Lann, because she has easy access to Master Shapeshifter and other stuff. She's less defensive than Lann, but right from the get-go you can buff her to do better damage. Though Lann is decent enough. And then you get her at like level 8, and then I went outflank for the same trick that if she does a crit, someone does an opportunity attack, it's quite nice. And then improved criticals. And then Point Blank Master here is kind of important, so like even if something comes near her, she doesn't take attack of opportunities. It'd be nice to like already have improved initiative here, but she is kind of short on feats here. Yeah, I guess you could delay improved critical to 13, although that's not ideal for improved initiative. No, she'll have to take improved initiative here. Beyond that, if she stays pure, which is up to you, she'd be better with like actually something like Mutation Warrior, multiclass. But if she stays pure Espionage Expert, Since she does have very high charisma, you can take combat expertise and feint, ranged feint and final feint on her as well. She can be actually quite a good feinter, and that's a good build. Just pure 20 expert with feint feats as well for her if you want to keep her pure. But their Master Shapeshifter, Rapid Shot, the first two are pretty standard here. Mythic Bond comes, I believe, with the mod. Otherwise, she can go for something like Clustered Shots. And she procs Master Shapeshifter from a level 1 spell, and immediately also gets like more stats.
I must part with everything demonic in me.
There.
But Desna, please allow me to keep my lovely, irresistibly beautiful wings.
Alright, now Sosiel, I mean, early on he just is a domain bot, and eventually he can do some things with spells or with some weapon attacks, although I prefer for him to actually just buff people with domain powers, which he gets. Sometimes use a few spells to either buff, again, allies or debuff enemies somewhat. Here at level 7 we just improve his initiative, and then we go into spell focus and greater spell focus evocation because Archon's Arrow is quite good, and there's not affected by spell resistance. Later on you can get Blade Barrier and up his spell resistance for this thing to land, and Blade Barrier is a very good spell to focus on as a cleric. And at level 7, like, in case you have some of the new spells, not Poison Breath, but let me find that spell, it's an amazing spell. Breath of Nothingness. Again, no spell resistance. You can even... the thing is, you don't want to go spell focus Conjuration on clerics because they have nothing except for this amazing Conjuration spell for damage and debuffs. It gives like negative levels to enemies, by the way, and looks like it deals uncapped damage. But you could justify going spell specialization, Breath of Nothingness on them for damage. This is an amazing spell and doesn't require spell resistance. But other than that, after this, it would be like just meta magics, like Bolster Spell. Yeah, Bolster Spell for Breath of Nothingness. And eventually we could go... Sosiel has too many wasted feats, I feel, to fit in something like Spell Penetration. Honestly, he should focus on spells that don't require spell resistance. I mean, as long as he has domains, and like this is what we take first, Community Madness, Domain Zealot. As long as you have Community Madness and what he naturally comes with, which is good domain, he can buff attacks of any person by like plus 15 to plus 20, so you'll hit anything when he buffs you. And he has great protective spells as a cleric, so he's like I run him. He's not the ideal cleric, especially because of these feats which make no sense, but he's still a cleric and great in that way. Okay, Seelah without a horse was there, but you can see that I eventually used her less and less. Mostly I ran towards the end in Act 2 with my main, with Camellia, with Ember, with Lann, and Sosiel. But in Act 1 and the maze, of course, she was a damage dealer and off healer, paladin without a mount, pure class. But she dealt most damage in the shield maze. So we went for great swords, just because you get a pretty good one. Well, you'll get better ones throughout the game, but it was readily available as a basic nice two-handed weapon for damage. And then outflank, lunge, so she is not near enemies but can still hit them, and improved critical. Just the basic stuff. We can now go for improved initiative, power attack, focus strike, and eventually just go for shatter defenses, I guess. And that would be it if we are keeping her as a level 20 paladin. Last stand, improved critical, ever ready, abundant smite. Abundant smite, improved initiative, most likely, and some utility for the party. No, my main character, I didn't keep them pure classed because I want to have a bit more fun and just to bring out the most I can out of a build idea I have and so on. And we're going with this special archetype from the mod of a dancer bard and a ninja Nakizaru right now. Nakizaru is like a ninja that gets a few more arcane spells, just like the just like what is it, Woljif's class, which is I forget the name of the class, but just like Woljif, they have a similar spell list. But I'm only going up to 3, and that's how you start. So you can get finesse training on the S stocks with a high dex character, and then you go into Bard. So let me show the build. So combat reflexes, light armor focus, double slice, outflank, lunge, and improved critical here. Again, I would like to fit in improved initiative here somewhere, but her dex is usually pretty high, especially with buff, so I didn't... for me, lunge was a bigger priority, so she could reach things with her multiple attacks easier. And then here we have a weapon focus from Bard and Piranha Strike on Bard. And this Bard, it's a very, very, very good, I would say almost overtuned type of Bard that competes and in some ways personally is more powerful than a Skald. Although the Skald would eventually buff a party more, this special Bard archetype in terms of personal power is more powerful than a Skald. This special song they have gives everyone an extra attack basically. So of course Lann really liked it. A lot of characters in my party really liked it, that I give them an extra attack. Plus I get extra attacks myself once I hit level 4 and 8. So yeah, this was pretty fun to play, and we get bonus to weapon fighting feats, so we don't even have to take an... We have a bunch of feats, basically this archetype, and with the 3 ninja levels here is very front-loaded with feats, making a dex dual wield character very possible and ramp up quickly from the start. We went Kitsune because I'm not sure I'm gonna ever have a Skald in this run, so we can eventually get Pounce ourselves, and because it's nice for both Dex and Charisma, we have Pickpocket and these feats as I showed before. And going forward after this, now that we have captured Drezen and are at Mythic 3, well, I will continue playing with some of the companions, but I do think I will transition more and more into trying the archetypes from the mod and see what I can cook up with the special archetypes I get, and I'll show off some pretty fancy builds probably going forward with the mod, because that does bring me fun. And now that I have, well, let's say the first quarter of the game, which is arguably the hardest part through, again, on Unfair, I will do something more intricate going forward, and I hope you enjoy those videos as well.
You require my unbiased opinion?
You're a good person. I like you.
Save the last one for me.
They will not expect my strike.
I'll cut you wide open! Attack! The world in crimson! cut you wide open. The world in crimson. Your pain is my pleasure. Attack! Strike. Let's prove their logic is lacking. Na, el, orma. I'll cut you wide open. The world in crimson.
I will resist. Disappear.
Attack!
No contest.
You stubborn
No, my dear.
Give me back what— Oh, I grow so tired of you, Mort.
So this is to be my fate. Let's get...
This is where I shine.
Aim carefully.
Esmo, Axel, yes.
Johnny Savitur.
Prepare yourself. The spirits demand your blood.
Forwards. You're outmatched.
Search for the beauty with your heart, not your eyes.